again from Fired Up. I'm your host for the show, Bob Irwin, broadcasting from Rigel Studios here in Las Vegas, Nevada. This show is about guns, related politics, and self-defense issues. Fired Up is on our website, firedupwithbobirwin.com, and the American Guns and Glory Network. It's also independently on YouTube and numerous other media. A new show is posted every Thursday around 5 p.m. Pacific time. Our audio feed is rebroadcast for radio listeners Saturdays at noon on the Nevada Talk Network. You can check out their stations at KELY1230.com for a station in your area. They're all over Nevada, except still in Clark County. Questions and comments, you can send an email to me at bob@firedupmail.com. Again, that's bob@firedupmail.com. Or leave a message if you wish on my office recorder, 702-257-1060. That's 702-257-1060. If you don't leave contact information, I can't call you back, so leave a number and I'll get a hold of you, or an email. Questions directed to my guest today, Attorney Don Green. He'll give his contact information just a little bit into the show where you can reach him directly. There are several hundred defensive uses of firearms every week in the United States, rarely truthfully covered by any mainstream media. We always present several of these for our listeners' education. Some are good shooting, some are questionable, sometimes they're just plain wrong, but I picked them out because they're educational for firearms owners, those of you who keep a gun in your house or carry one with you on the street. Individual incidents are generally adjudicated under local law. So the advice given here might not apply to listeners in different jurisdictions. And this is important. Stories are often paraphrased for clarity by me translating them from police jargon, what I call lawyer speak, or regional accents throughout the United States into more standard English. The incidents are as reported, except the names are omitted of the participants. My guest today, as I said, is California and Nevada Attorney Donald J. Green. Welcome again. A little bit of your background, if you would.
Thank you, Bob. My name is Don Green, and I've been a lawyer now this year 37 years in California and Nevada. You can reach me directly on my cellular at area code 702-409-8239. While I do have a general criminal practice and we do have business litigation involving firearms, the substantial bulk of my practice deals with firearms, representing gun shows, federal firearms licensees, private individuals, private sellers. In fact, the last 2 weekends where Bob and I have been at gun shows, we've had a number of questions presented to us concerning Nevada's background check law and the red flag law. In particular, as to the background check law, a question which kept coming up is that are pre-1896 weapons, like muzzle loaders, subject to the background check in Nevada? The answer is yes. In Nevada, we have a Nevada Supreme Court decision, 2012, which states that a firearm is a firearm. The fact that it's a muzzle loader does not take it away from being a firearm. So we have a 2012 decision. So for all you people out there who want to transfer your muzzle loaders where there's no exemption, you still have to go through a background check. Just wanted to point that out because it was a big question over this past weekend. Anyway, you can reach me again through Bob's website and through the commercials on this program. Thank you.
I'm sure that background checks on flintlock rifles will save a lot of school shooting massacres
possibly
from taking place. Yeah, I love the government. This first story comes to us from K105 Radio. A reporter named Ken Howlett reported on February 5th this year in Centertown, Kentucky. Ohio County Sheriff Tracy Beatty said on Thursday night, just before 10 p.m., his office responded to a prowler call at a residence at 318 Highway 85. While on the phone with the dispatcher, the caller advised that her husband had just shot the prowler. The wife gets on the phone immediately and calls 911. That's good. Upon police arriving at the scene, deputies found the prowler on the ground next to the front porch, suffering from multiple gunshot wounds. The husband told detectives that he confronted the prowler near the back of the residence. After a verbal confrontation, which presumably is a shouting match, the husband retreated toward the front door of his home with the prowler following him. The husband continued to advise the prowler to stop or he would shoot. When the husband got to his front door, the prowler continued up the steps and onto the porch. That's when the husband fired 4 times with his .22 caliber handgun. The wounded man was transported to Ohio County Regional Hospital with life-threatening injuries. He is believed to have been under the influence of something at the time of this shooting. The husband told deputies that he believed his family's lives were in mortal danger. Sheriff Beatty said the case will be presented to the grand jury for further review. Comments on this? Sometimes you can do everything right and not deter a criminal. Most run when given opportunity. By giving ground and lots of warnings, the resident here did everything he could do to stop this short of letting the gun nut into his house, gave him warnings, backed up, gave grounds. He was doing it right as best he could. There may be some other complications about this case, however. I'm going to turn Lawyer Green loose.
Okay,
on
thank
this.
you. All right, Bob, let's take this case to California first. It's probably going to be held as a good shooting, even if they took it to the California grand jury, which is rare, but it happens. Number one, California, you have a duty to retreat. The homeowner retreated. There was a verbal confrontation with this guy. Hey, get away from my house. The perpetrator, obviously under the influence of controlled substance, keeps coming towards the house. Maybe there was a threatening gesture. Maybe there was something he reached for in his pocket. But as soon as he got up to the house, he wasn't there to, again, as we often point out, he wasn't there to collect for the Girl Scouts. He was there to do something bad. This is 10 p.m. in a residential area. We don't know the type of area, whether it's out in the country or whatever. But the resident, when the man continued, the prowler continued to follow, the homeowner kept saying, stop or I'm going to shoot, and the homeowner shot 4 times with the .22. Larger caliber handgun could have resulted in death, but still, in California, the only point that which Bob and I were talking about before the show is that this was outside of the house, but it's still close enough that the porch is part of the house. Threatening to go up the porch, can you wait to he gets up to the porch? The answer is yes. But the jury is going to look at whether this homeowner's actions in California and in Nevada, I believe these were reasonable, unless perhaps maybe they knew each other. It was the wife's current boyfriend, whatever. But I do believe that in California, this is going to be upheld as a good shooting, even if they take it to the grand jury. And in Nevada, more than likely will be held as a good shooting, simply because of the close proximity which the prowler had to the porch, which is adjacent to the house.
And the question remains, why don't you go in the house, shut the door, and call the cops? I can see this being second guessed and certainly see it, and I'm sure you would agree, Don, see this resulting in some sort of a lawsuit.
Yes.
in the civil area.
Keep focusing. The attorney and the homeowner keep focusing on the reasonableness of the actions of the homeowner at that moment, not what a DA thinks about it several weeks later.
Yeah, we've had a lot of those cases.
Yes, we have.
Several come to mind. We're going to take a very short, brief recess here for some comments from some of our friends and associates. Don't go away. Freestyle Martial Arts, located at Jones and Russell here in Las Vegas. You can reach them at 702-551-9009. That's 702-551-9009. CCS Gunsmithing. Chris Eifelt, the man who does all the NRA help, he's at 2216 South Rainbow Boulevard near Sahara. He can be reached at 702-365-1732. Once again, 702-365-1732. Jerry Creed, a trust attorney. If you have a firearms trust or need one, this is your guy. You can reach Jerry at 702-806-7777. That is 702-806-7777. CCW Maggie is found all over the internet. You can reach her by phone at 702-375-5900. That's 702-375-5900. All sorts of firearms training, ladies only classes. She is the best of the best. Call CCW Maggie. Hi again. This next story comes from The Signal, a newsprint organization in Santa Clarita Valley, California. Reported on February 13th this year, a 25-year-old suspect is believed to have been armed with a handgun when he entered the Golden Stop Liquor at the retail store around 8:30 in the evening back on February 2nd. The suspect and the store owner engaged in a gunfight. The would-be robber was hit multiple times, and the store owner was shot once in the lower body. Video footage of the incident shows the store owner crawling out of the store. A sheriff's deputy that had arrived by then approached him and dragged him out of the line of fire and removed him from the scene. The owner was then transferred to a local area hospital with injuries that were not life-threatening. The 25-year-old robber, he's from Canyon Country, nearby community, was pronounced deceased at the scene. Detectives investigating the shooting believe the store owner acted in self-defense. It'll be presented to the district attorney, said Sheriff Lieutenant Robert Westfall, adding that he doubts the district attorney will press charges against the store owner. He wanted to say detectives believe the store owner was using a legal firearm, but they did not disclose the type of gun used. Both parties were shot at close range. Westfall added that 2 handguns were involved. So the store only had one, so now that is an indication the other guy was actually shooting. Westfall declined to say who the investigators believe took the first shot inside the store or release any security footage for the investigation is still ongoing. That will determine if the dead robber was involved with other crimes in the community. Comments here, the perp entered with a gun and was a clear threat. Who fired the first shot, to me, is not a big issue. The whole video will no doubt show the sequence of events anyway. That being said, this is California. Is this wounded clerk? Now we've got a dead guy. Where is this going? Mr. Green?
Bob, you made a significant point just a moment ago, and that is, does it matter who took the first shot? Answer, for the defense, no. It doesn't matter, because what you have to be presented with is the whether or not there was great bodily harm or death presented at that moment. That's the law in California. That's the law in Nevada. Now, there's some nuances in California we have to talk about, but that's a good point that Bob has raised for the defense. The police are going to say, well, if the shop owner took the first shot, was it attempted murder on his part? And then was this mild-mannered patron just acting in self-defense in the shop. I don't think so. Now, we have several shots going on at the same time. The video is going to be important. But as Bob and I have told your audiences on many occasions, the video depicts what it depicts, but that's not always the answer. You've had cases where in the marijuana store, Bob and I can't discuss it, but we have a case right now in a dash cam. Whether or not that particular incident, which is almost all on dash cam, is what's going to happen in this case, because we have a lot of fill in the blanks with the independent 911 calls, which weren't on the dash cam. So again, the video footage is going to be important, but I do believe that, with the store owner crawling out of the store, that's going to be significant. And although we're in Santa Clarita, California, it's a general San Diego area, I think that if this was in LA, San Francisco, Ventura, Merced, perhaps even San Jose, maybe Sacramento, it'd be a different story. Homeowner would be looking at some serious, serious problems. Excuse me, the shop owner.
Yeah. So much of this, why we always harp on where it takes place, has to do with the attitudes and laws of the jurisdiction that you're in. A good shooting here is a bad shooting, obviously, in New York City. And between those two extremes, there is a million variations, literally a million variations. We're going to pause for just a moment for another word from some of our friends and associates. We'll be right back. Don't go away. Attorney Donald J. Green, a common guest of mine on Fired Up. He can be reached at 702-409-8239. He specializes in gun case litigation. He is your man, Don Green, 702-409-8239. At Ricardo's Restaurant, where you'll usually find me eating lunch every day if I can get there, they're at the corner of Flamingo and Decatur here in Las Vegas. You can reach them at 702-227-9100. That's 702-227-9100. And Battlefield Vegas, my new kind of home for this show. They're on Circus Drive, directly behind the Circus Hotel and Casino. You can find them there with CCW classes and an amazing place for gun rentals, everything you could possibly imagine. Check out, if you're in town as a tourist, check out battlefieldvegas.com. And we are back again. This story comes from the Inyo Register. A reporter named Terrence Vestal reported January 17th this year in Mammoth Lakes, California, beautiful place. Shooting occurred on the evening of January 6th when an armed out-of-area man tried to rob a local man who was parked at a gas station. The local resident was carrying a permitted concealed weapon and returned fire. Both men were wounded in the gunfight, but the robber died at the scene. The robber was accompanied by a girlfriend who fled the area but later turned herself in. She will be charged with multiple felonies, of course. The Inyo County District Attorney, a fellow named Tom Hardy, announced Wednesday, January 15th, that his office had filed multiple felony charges against the girlfriend, a 46-year-old from Los Lunas, New Mexico. For more information, on this story, you fans know how in love I am with local community newspapers. You can contact the Mammoth Times and get their e-edition. It's relatively inexpensive. There's just a lot of great stuff in there. Back to comments. This is the type of case wherein the perp is killed by an intended victim and the perp's co-conspirators are charged with that death. an interesting point of law which comes up fairly often in civilian and law enforcement shootings called the felony murder rule. And we're going to talk about that just for a second here, Don. Here we go.
Bob, you cannot make up this kind of a story. And for your listeners and your viewers, I assure you that as to just about every lawyer in the United States who is now a lawyer, whoever will be, this is going to be on a bar examination. Because people are going to say, how does the girlfriend get charged? Under the felony murder rule, if you're doing something with somebody, either by conspiracy or aiding and abetting, or accessory before the fact, accessory after the fact, there's a principle called felony murder. And that is that if someone kills during an inherently dangerous felony, burglary, robbery, arson, kidnapping, rape, child molestation, if you're with somebody and you're encouraging them, and that person, the other person kills, you can be charged with the murder. Now, there's a Florida case that went up to the U.S. Supreme Court about 25 years ago where you cannot get the death penalty unless you pull the trigger under felony murder rule, unless there's multiple murders, but you can certainly go to prison for life. And even in Mammoth Lakes, California, even in Inyo County, let's call it a cow county, this woman is facing some serious problems. Now, let's look at this. And this is a case of situational awareness, which Bob and I talk about all the time, not just in CCW classes, but also at the gun shows, because from a practical perspective of defending yourself, as Bob points out, I have it when you're in court and you're facing 12 people who have the decision of putting you in jail for the rest of your life. And that is, in situational awareness, the man, the victim was at the gas station. He was parked at the gas station. He has a concealed weapon permit. Someone is trying to kill him. Someone shoots at him. He uses his concealed weapon because he was faced with a situation of great bodily injury or death. Now, this girlfriend who was in the area, we don't know her exact role, but if she was involved in anything, according to robbery, the getaway driver, she was holding the door open. She turned off the lights. She turned on the lights. She was on the phone texting that we've got the money, or we're getting the money, or we're going to go buy the drugs, whatever. All these points, all these facts are going to be are being developed probably right now, because this happened now a month ago. But this woman is facing some serious charges. It brings to mind a situation which we had in Nevada about 5 or 6 years ago. A young attorney from Nevada had got a CCW and had called me in the middle of the night, months and months and months later. He was in Kansas, in a little town called Galena, Kansas, just off a turnpike, which I believe is the equivalent of freeways back east. Anyway, and he had just shot a couple of people because his check engine light went on, and being a young lawyer and a yuppie, and he just had to get off the road. You and I probably will drive another 100 miles, but he had to get off the road and went into this truck stop. The repair section was closed, but the diner was open. And as he was at the gas pumps, some punks came up to him in this little town, Galena, Kansas. They said, "Give us your money," in very descriptive language. And he reached for his wallet, was going to give him the money. One of the perpetrators pointed out a knife and says, "We're going to kill you anyway." So the young lawyer took out his weapon and fired at these people. Now, Nevada lawyer, Nevada CCW, in Kansas, middle of the night. Situational awareness. He saw what was coming. He couldn't get away from his car. He had people that were coming up to him with a knife. And in the case in California and Mammoth Lakes, he had the perpetrator had a firearm. But the good thing about it is that Kansas and Nevada have reciprocity for concealed weapons. And although my guy was hooked up by the Kansas State Police or the Kansas State Highway Patrol for several hours, he was eventually released went back to Kansas. I had talked to him a couple of times, put him in touch with the local attorney in that jurisdiction, and I believe they went to the county attorney in that area for an interview or speak with one of the deputies, and the case was closed. Now, I don't know about any civil ramifications, but what you have to look at here is, number one, situational awareness. 2, always look to see where you're parked. Number 3, look at the time of evening. We don't know exactly what happened. And always be prepared that someone's going to try to attack you, and from multiple fronts. And again, Bob and I are working on a case right now where there are possible multiple perpetrators, but our guy is the one who gets arrested. So we have to watch out for that. And I did point out here that the use of the firearm, you don't always have to use it, but in this case, the local resident who was at the gas station saw that he was going to be killed, and there was this fight, the gunfight, and he did the right decision, even in California. And I doubt if charges will be filed against the victim in Inyo County, certainly against the girlfriend who ran away.
Yep. We are running right up against a hard break here. I've got some information we want to share with you about a list we're coming up with for the next election in June for lawyers that Don and I are working on, which lawyers are pro-Second Amendment, which aren't. So Don is coming back next week, so I want to just let you know that we're going to be doing that next week. Stay tuned for that. And Don and I will be at the Western Trails Boulder Creek Golf Club show. It's on Veterans Memorial Highway in Boulder City on March 21 and 22. We'll get onto that next week also. I wish listeners would check out firedupwithboberwin.com. It contains dozens of episodes that are up there for you to peruse and look through. We put up a new show every Thursday at 5 in the evening, as I said earlier, and you can find us on the radio at the aforementioned radio station, KELY1230.com has a list of all the stations. When you get to the Fired Up shows, just click subscribe. You'll automatically get a new one every Thursday evening around 5 p.m. And last instant thing, our T-shirts and hats and so forth for Fired Up are for sale at Circus just behind, or at at Battlefield Vegas, just behind Circus on the Las Vegas Strip. We will see you all next week. Thank you for supporting Fired Up.